Hello, welcome to my channel. Today I'm showing you how quickly you can paint hydrangeas. Don't count the thumbnails or the palette picture. These are literally 10-minute hydrangeas. I loaded my palette, just a regular plastic tray from IKEA, with titanium white, primary yellow, raw sienna, raw umber, French ultramarine, blue, sap green and alizarin crimson. And then I just splodged on the yellow paint, followed by French ultramarine blue and raw sienna with a little alizarin crimson in at the end for a tabletop. I don't make a great deal of fuss about the background. I just like a bluish green background, and the blue and the yellow mix together to make a green. So I don't make too much fuss about it. It's whatever comes out, I'm happy with. I add a link to a video regarding my backgrounds in the description below. I buy powder brushes that I get from the dollar store. They make great blenders for paint, and you know, they're so cheap you can buy a number of them and you're not breaking the bank. I'm using the brush quite lightly in a crisscross stroke, and that gives me a nice blended surface. Sometimes I don't blend, sometimes I pull leaves and shapes into the wet paint, and that gives me a different background. And one you might like to try. It's a very textured background. It depends how I'm feeling that day, to be honest. Today I'm using a filbert brush, that's a flat brush with a rounded top, to pull in petal shapes, and I've cut out a couple of steps here. Usually I use raw sienna and a liner brush to sketch in where my flowers are going to be. I've cut that step out. I'm going straight to the flower head and painting that in with no guideline sketch marks. The paint is very wet and the colour's not holding very well, but that's okay. We'll get several layers on and it will all come together, you'll see. I'm using a 1/2 inch flat to do the vase, and it sort of came together at the end, but it looks like a dog's dinner at the moment. And I can't say I'm totally pleased with the vase, but I really liked the way the hydrangeas came out. You can see in the thumbnail that the vase is a little sketchy. The thing about a glass vase is you want the background, whatever's in the background, to show through, and you need reflections. I usually put in the reflection of a window. I find that sort of helps make a glass vase look glassy. If there are leaves overhanging or blossoms overhanging, I put that colour in there too. Anything that you can add that is in the actual painting itself, the blossom, the tabletop, the reflections from windows, paint those in your vase, but leave room for that background to shine through. The light is coming from the right, and I've put my shadow on the left of everything. It'll be on the left of leaves, on the left of the flower heads, on the left of the vase. On the vase there's the highlight side on the right side and the reflected light. The light has gone through the vase, and the light is a little dimmer on the left hand side than it is on the right hand side. So I usually add blue to the white just to give me that shadow highlight. On the flowers themselves, I've chosen to make these blue and white hydrangeas, and I've put a dark French ultramarine blue on the left-hand side of the flowers. And as I work my highlight in, it picks up that blue and gives me a softer shadow to the flower head, making it look round. I'm doing everything very quickly today to see how quickly I can do it, and I managed to get this painting in under 10 minutes, or just slightly over 10 minutes, 10 minutes and 38 seconds. Well, actually, that's the length of the video and includes my thumbnail and the palette description, so it's probably under 10 minutes. I put in the flower petals with a filbert brush and then changed to a flat, half-inch flat. I am more comfortable with flat brushes. I don't know why that is, but I feel they get a more interesting shape on the petals if you use a flat brush, but it really comes down to personal choice, and that's mine. I think it gives the petals a more fluttery look, but it could all be in my imagination. Tell me what you think in the comments. Usually by this time I've put in my leaves. Generally when I paint, I do everything in a mid-tone and then I add my shadow, and then after I add my highlight, and sometimes I put a highlight on top of my highlight. But it always goes in those 3 stages. And today I have changed everything around. I'm just trying to do this as quickly as I can, just to show you that it can be a very fast painting to do. And I've cut out all my usual method, and it's thrown me for a bit of a loop, to be honest. But I'm mixing a mid-tone green, and this part shows you how I usually paint. I put a mid-tone green on for my leaf, then I add my shadows. Actually, I think I add my highlight side, and then I added my shadow side. So I did reverse those 2 things. But in general, that's how I paint. Mid-tone, shadow, and highlight. When I'm painting leaves or petals, I pull in the stroke from the outer edge in towards the center of the flower head or of the vein of the leaf. And that, I feel, gives me a realistic looking petal or leaf shape. If a leaf is underneath the blossom, as this one is, I never know whether to call it a flower or a blossom. Let's call it a flower. Then part of the leaf is hidden in shadow. So I only put 1 daub of highlight on that leaf. And where I think the light catches the leaf a little more, I'll add a little more highlight. I add some of the colour of the flower and the leaves into the vase because it does pick up that colour. It is reflected in there, and to the tabletop. And interestingly, this highlight on the tabletop is on the wrong side. The light is coming from the right, and the light goes through the vase and throws a highlight on the tabletop, and that should be on the left side of the vase. So this is a little trick I've put in there for you. Let's call it that. You have to decide what's wrong with this picture, and I've already told you the answer. I'm pulling the highlight around the vase in a horizontal stroke to make the vase look round. It adds to the shape of the vase if you do that. If you've got a rectangular vase, something very hard lined, straight up and down, you can pull the stroke of the paint brush in the direction of that angle and it will accentuate it. In this case, my vase is round and I'm pulling the paint around the vase. To put in the centers of the little florets, I'm using a Q-tip, and I don't put in a lot of them. I put in odd numbers, 3, 5, 7s, things like that. I think I only put 5 in at the most on these flower heads. And I'm using a Q-tip, but you could use the end of your brush or anything you can find that will just give you that little tiny, concise little dot. You don't want it spreading out anywhere. It's the very center of the flower. So that's it, all done. And I think, considering I only took 10 minutes, they came out pretty nice. I think I couldn't do it under 10 minutes, let's put it that way. And I'm pretty happy with these. And the vase could be better, I think. But the flowers themselves are quite nice. And I know hydrangeas come in many colours. I generally paint them blue because that's the colour I like. But you can paint these in many different colours and they will look lovely. So have a go, see what you can do. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer if I know the answer. And I'll see you next time. Thank you very much for watching. And I don't know what I'll be painting next time, but it'll be something. Bye for now.